Assalamu alaikum.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'd. My dear brothers, respected elders and sisters, we all understand, and as Muslims we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in this life for a very short moment. This is an example that one of the classical scholars gave, that imagine that you fill the skies, the heavens and the earth with mustard seeds. Mustard seeds are very small. So imagine if the entire skies were filled with mustard seed, and every century or every millennium a bird came and picked one of those seeds. It would be an incredibly long time, something that we probably would not be able to imagine. But eventually, mathematically, those seeds would finish, but the akhirah and the time in the akhirah will never finish. So it doesn't matter whether we live 50 years, whether we live 100 years, whether we live 200 years. At the end of the day, this life is extremely, extremely short in comparison to the akhirah. But it's very important because whatever we do in this life determines how we live our next life. A person gave an example that imagine a baby in the womb of the mother. In the womb, it is developing its limbs, its eyes, its ears. What use does it have for its eyes in the womb of the mother? If the eyes are developing and over time, the baby is getting constricted. Its arms are developing and over time it feels like, why do I need these arms? So if the baby was to think, obviously the baby is maybe not thinking the way that we would think, but just imagine this as an example, that if the baby was to think that what use do my hands have? There is no use for them in this womb. What use do my eyes have? I cannot see, there is nothing to see. In fact, likely the baby does not even have the concept of sight in the womb of the mother. But if the eyes are not developed, if the limbs are not developed, then once the baby comes into this world, he will have severe handicaps. So in the same way, my dear brothers and sisters, this life is a life of development, and what we develop in this life gives us benefit in the akhirah, the life that will be forever and ever. But it is not our limbs, it is not our eyes, but it is our iman and our a'mal. As Muslims, we believe that a person is required to say the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. In the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is a prerequisite to enter Jannah. A person has a mustard seed that has a very small iota of iman. He may be able to enter Jannah with just this small amount of iman, even if he had no deeds. And of course, after iman, then as we develop our deeds, and furthermore, the sadaqah jariyah, those things that we leave behind, and that become perpetual charity for us, that even after our eyes are closed and we are in the grave, but certain things will continue to reap us rewards in the akhirah. So this is the time when we can develop that. And so whether we have 50 years or whether we have 100 years, every moment is precious. Every second is precious. The person that goes in the grave, and even the person that will be going and entering into Jannah, it is mentioned in the hadith, that even that person will regret the time that he did not spend making the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my dear brothers and sisters, it is important for us to recognize the value of the time that we have. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, in one of his books at the very end, he talks about the akhlaq of a Muslim. And at the very end he says, and I don't remember whether he said that after you die, if Allah put you back in this life for one more day, or imagine that if you knew that you had one day to live. In either case, if we knew that today was our last day, and exactly after 24 hours we were to leave this world, how would we live our lives? Would we waste a second? Would we waste a minute? We would perform as much salat as we could. All the relationships that we had severed and all the wrongs that we had done, we would ask for forgiveness immediately, because the impending death would be upon us. Hatta ya'tiyaka al-yaqeen. That when yaqeen comes upon you, those who know the word yaqeen, that it means certainty. But this Quranic ayah refers to death. And why is death and certainty the same? Because there are two ways to attain certainty. One is through working on iman in this life so that we understand the truth of the akhirah. Because around us is a system, and around us are things that we cannot see with our eyes, but they exist. The angels. And after we die, Jannah and Jahannam. So either we believe it now and we build our yaqeen, or we die and the yaqeen will definitely happen. Because Allah will open our eyes to the reality of the ghaib. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Who are the people that are guided? The people that believe in the unseen. They understand that their eyes and their ears and their touch and their senses are limited. The truth is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to us through the wahi. So my brothers, before that yaqeen, in which we can no longer develop our iman and our a'mal, we must develop the yaqeen in this life. So how would we live our lives if we knew that we had a single day left? Abdullah ibn Mubarak radiyallahu anhu, many people may know his name. He was a contemporary of the tabi'een. He was in fact a student of Imam Abu Hanifa. And the scholars of hadith, I heard a scholar of hadith saying that there are many of the great scholars in the past who have been criticized in their hadith, such as Imam Bukhari even, and Imam Abu Hanifa. But Abdullah ibn Mubarak is such that the scholar says, I have not seen anybody criticize his level of a hadith. Abdullah ibn Mubarak radiyallahu anhu, rahmatullah alayh, he was born into a wealthy family and he would enjoy his wealth. And at that time he was not living the life of deen. And his family owned an apple orchard. So during certain part of the orchard, and he would call his friends over and they would, with drinking, with music, and playing instruments. So he was in this condition when one day he fell asleep. He was enjoying himself, and in his sleep he saw a dream. And in this dream, as he tried to play his instrument, instead of the instrument playing music, he heard a voice reciting an ayah of the Quran. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ألم يأن للذين آمنوا. Is it not time for the people that have iman أن تخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله, that their hearts should soften toward the remembrance of Allah, وما نزل من الحق, and to those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed of the truth. And this made Abdullah ibn Mubarak radiyallahu anhu realize that what kind of life am I living? How am I wasting the moments of my life? And he decided to change his life around. And he involved himself in the khidmah, in the service of humanity, and in the knowledge of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he became a scholar of hadith that people relied upon. Once during the khilafah of Harun al-Rashid, he heard, the Khalifa heard this commotion, heard a sound outside the gates of the city. Obviously in those days the cities were very small. So at the gate of the city he heard a commotion and he wondered what it was, and he feared that it could be an enemy attacking the city. So he sent people to find out what happened. And what he found out, that it was Abdullah ibn Mubarak, who lived in Khurasan, lived in Persia, but he had come to Baghdad, and the crowds had gathered to see him. And when he sneezed, he said, Alhamdulillah, and they said, Yarhamakullah. And there was this commotion, and this commotion was what the Khalifa Harun al-Rashid was listening to. This was the status of Abdullah ibn Mubarak. My dear brothers, we also have to realize that whatever life we are living, let us realize the value of the moments and the seconds that we have, and turn ourselves towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever we have been doing in our life, whatever goals that we have had, the goals that are good, let us turn ourselves towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and turn the moments and the hours and the days and the weeks of our life towards something beneficial and towards the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ. That have we not given you a long enough life to remember Allah for those who are able to reflect? And have we not sent people to warn you? The scholars have said that, of course, we all know that Nadhir, that there were many prophets that were sent. And after the prophets, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were mujaddideen that were sent, revivers of deen that were sent. That, of course, there were also people that warned. But they have also mentioned that when you look at our life, we see people, they pass away in front of us. I remember this past 2-3 weeks, at least 3 or 4 people of my personal acquaintances I have seen going into the grave. Somebody, one of them was my own friend who was my same age and who died of cancer. We are attending the janaiz of our friends, of our elders. These are reminders for us, my dear brothers, that we also have to go into the grave one day. This is why one of the aspects of Iman is to remember our death. And of course, many of us, mashallah, I can see here, have white hairs. These white hairs are also nadhir. They remind us that we are going towards old age, we are going towards our death. So my dear brothers, let us take a warning from this. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ. And hurry, do not waste time, hurry towards the forgiveness of Allah, مِن رَبِّكُمْ. وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah is reminding us that hurry towards good deeds. Why? Because at the end of the day, there is a garden, a Jannah prepared for you. It is so wide that it is wider than the heavens and the earth that you see. And it is prepared for those who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. There are 2 ni'mas, 2 luxuries, 2 blessings that many people are in deception about. What are those 2 things? Siha, your health, and faragh is your free time. Many of us, now the weekend is coming, we'll have some free time. We'll be able to hang around with our friends. And there's nothing wrong that if we spend our time in a halal manner with our friends. But my dear brothers, every moment is precious. How we allocate and prioritize our time. How much are we prioritizing towards the remembrance of Allah? Abdullah ibn Umar anhu was on a journey. Abdullah ibn Umar anhu was a famous Sahabi, the son of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. He was on a journey. And in this journey, the group came across a graveyard. And Abdullah ibn Umar anhu got down at this graveyard and he prayed 2 rakat of salat. And the Sahaba, they were wondering what was special about this. Why did you get down and pray 2 rakat of salat? And Abdullah ibn Umar anhu said that when we were passing this graveyard, I remembered the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the people in the graves, they would do anything that they could come back to life and they could pray 2 rakat of salat. And I thought, I still have life in me. So let me at least pray 2 rakat of salat. Ibn Hajar radiallahu anhu was a great muhaddith. He wrote a commentary on Sahih Bukhari. MashaAllah, almost all of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they respect his scholarship. If you say the name of Ibn Hajar, people recognize who he is. He used to engage himself in writing ahadith and commentaries of ahadith, and many books he wrote. But in those days when they had pens, they would have, after writing for some time, the pens were made of wood and they would become dull. The point would become dull. So what they would have to do, they would have to take out their knife and they would sharpen the pen. They would spend some time sharpening the pen. So Ibn Hajar anhu was so particular about how he spent his time that he made it a point to make a special dhikr Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar, at the time that he was sharpening his pen. Because of course when he was writing the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his mind was fully engaged and he was earning the reward of doing that. But when he was sharpening his pen, he wanted to do something so that he could make use of his time. So he would spend his time saying Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Hassan Basri rahmatullah alayhi, who was a tabi'i, famous tabi'i, and he was so knowledgeable that some of the Sahaba, they would refer to him for fatwa. It was said, or he said, that I know of people, I have been in the company of people that they considered their time and their seconds and their moments more valuable than you consider your dinar and your dirham, your silver and your gold. They would protect their seconds and their moments like we protect the money in our bank account. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, it is time for us to think about our lives and compare ourselves against our predecessors who understood the message of deen, who understood the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ulama, they mentioned this, and of course this is any productivity, any person that talks about productivity would talk about this, is divide your time. Every day we should look at our time. We should plan our time. What time are we getting up? We should get up for Fajr. After Fajr, we should engage ourselves in some adhkar, reading the Quran, and then follow a daily schedule. Starting our day with Fajr and with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah into our time. This is something I personally experienced, that the day that you're able to pray Fajr in the masjid, then that day is the day that goes well for you. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in that. And we should, Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi mentions three things. That you can spend your time in that which is beneficial for your deen or your dunya. Now we all have to go to work. And that is actually, if we do it with the right intention, that is also part of our deen. So whether it's deen or dunya, to engage ourselves in something beneficial. Obviously the best is to engage ourselves in the deen. And then it is also beneficial if we engage ourselves in something productive for the dunya. After that is that which has no benefit nor harm in the deen and dunya. We're with our friends talking. The speech we discuss is not necessarily speech of deen, but it's also not ghibah, it's nothing negative. So that time is not neither a reward nor sinful. And then there is that time that we spend sinning, whether it's watching something on our screen that we shouldn't be watching or listening to. And we can track our time. I mean, most of our phones have the screen time now, and we can track. Or it's sitting with our friends and talking about other people negatively. So what we have to do is analyze our life and take away all those things that are negative, at least at minimum. And then from the remaining two categories, those things that are productive and those things that are neutral, we increase the amount of time allocated to those things that are productive. And then of those things that are productive, those things that are for the dunya and those things that are for the deen, we try to increase as much as we can to allocate our time for those things that are part of our deen. And my dear brothers, this is something that we should not delay because our life can run out at any moment. So we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to use our life productively. We should consider every hour, every moment of ours as important for us, inshallah. And of course, we should, wherever we can, we should engage ourselves in those things that are the most productive, which is to not only our deen, but things that promote the deen. So today I'm actually here from Chicago on behalf of Masjid Uthman, fundraising on behalf of Masjid Uthman. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Masjid Uthman and Uthman Academy is an institute in Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have so many activities, including our academy, which has 500 students, alhamdulillah, on an annual basis. And by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a good problem to have is our rental facility has become too small for us. So a couple of years ago, we started a project to build a masjid and an academy. And alhamdulillah, we acquired 5 acres of land. And by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are 70% complete with our construction. Outside, we have some brothers, inshallah. You can see the images of that. And you can also check our website at masjiduthman.org, uthman.org. Alhamdulillah, the work that is being done in this masjid is a sadaqah jariyah. There are multiple categories of sadaqah jariyah. But 3 of those categories is to build a masjid, to spread the knowledge of the deen, and to raise the next generation, raise pious children. So alhamdulillah, by contributing to this masjid, you will inshallah be reaping the reward of at least 3 categories of sadaqah jariyah. So alhamdulillah, we will have brothers outside that will be collecting donations. What we've done for our construction is we've categorized the donation into 3 different levels. We have 1 foot by 1 foot wall sections which can be donated for $225 each. We have musallas which can be donated for $1,500 each. And we have musallas in the main prayer hall which can be donated for $3,450 each. So inshallah, we ask you that this is one of the avenues that you can use to use the moments in your life to earn for your akhirah, to build your akhirah. So whatever you can donate, inshallah, we ask you to meet our brothers outside. We can take your credit card as you leave. You can also pick up envelopes, and mashallah, we have both brothers and sisters available. So inshallah, sisters can also participate in this. We also ask you to make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this institution, all the institutions in our country, in the United States, means of hidayah for the entire mankind, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس شبابك قبل هرمك وصحتك قبل سقمك وغناك قبل فقرك وفراغك قبل شغلك وحياتك قبل موتك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Straighten the line shoulder to shoulder. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله Inshallah, we have a request to make dua maghfirah for Brother Abdul Rauf Abdul Ghani, who passed away yesterday in Miami. And also dua for shifa for our brother Imad and his wife who is in the hospital. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants shifa, and we make dua that attains Jannatul Firdaus without hisab. Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Just a couple of announcements. Body meeting 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the Ectoderm Relief Free Clinic from 12:30 to 3:30 p.m. Please sign up to donate blood on the flyer posted in the lobby downstairs or by the stairs upstairs. On Wednesday, December 21st from 11:30 to 1, we have the Little Muslimin Playtime for kids 5 or younger upstairs in the Women's Prayer Hall. Please bring a toy and snack to share. Jazakumullah khair, everybody. Assalamu alaikum.